Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I was just gonna call Eleanor Alyssa. But I'm definitely starting to get baby brain again. Like I just remember it so prevalent throughout my whole pregnancy with Eleanor, and then also for like a year afterwards it felt like, where my brain just like could not function.
Yeah. No, I feel like I still had it for a long time postpartum. Sometimes I still feel like I have it.
Me too. I felt like before I got pregnant again, I felt like it was getting better. Like I felt
Hmm.
more like myself than I had in a really long time. And then I got pregnant and then it's all starting over. But
Yeah.
that's okay. It's a whole part of the thing. But what I wanted to say is Eleanor all week she's just been sleeping in. Last few days she's been getting up at like 9:30. Like today she got up at like 9:30. Yesterday she got up at 9:30, and she's just a sleepy baby. And she still like takes like 3.5 hour naps.
Dang.
And yeah, so
Maybe
she's
she's
just
going
been,
through a
I
growth
mean,
spurt.
I was thinking that too. Like, a week or two ago, she was like eating so much. Now she's eating less, but she's like sleeping a lot. So I don't know if she is going to be sprouting or something soon.
Yeah.
But it's been kind of nice. I mean, since I work from home and Rob, is a stay at home dad, like we don't have any restrictions on that. So it just gives us a little extra sleep.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
But other than that, like our main thing lately, she's obsessed with drawing. So she has this little, it's like a magnetic. Do you remember those where you would draw on it and it was like
Oh, and then
magnetic?
you erase it? Yeah, we have one
And
of
then you
those.
could erase it. So
Yeah.
we have one of those with like a little table, and she's just obsessed with drawing on it. So she'll like scribble, right? And I'll be like, "What are you drawing?" And she's like, "Poo." And then I'll be like, she'll be like, "Erase." So then we erase it, and then she's drawing again. I'm like, "What are you drawing?" She's like, "Giraffe ma," which is like her little giraffe stuffy, and she's just so funny. And then she loves to have me draw, and then her guess like what I'm drawing. She'll be like, "Guess." So then we'll draw and she'll guess, and it's just really cute. And she's starting to like interact with her toys. So like we take her toys and we like say hi, like we're talking. And
Hmm.
so, and we do that with all her toys, but Giraffe Mo's been the big one lately, where we've been. So then anytime she's doing anything, she's like, Giraffe Mo, like she wants to show Giraffe Mo and like have him talk with her. And it's really stinking cute that she's
Oh.
like interacting that way. Another thing I want to mention too is she's also starting to like play hide and seek, which is so freaking cute. So she likes to hide. So when she's in her bedroom or like downstairs, she has two spots she really likes to hide. And we know where she is, obviously, but we usually like take a stuffy and we like go around the room and see if we can find her. And we always look where she is last. But she's actually starting to like find me and Rob. So like I'll go hide, and then Rob and her will count to 5 and then come and find me. And she just loves it. And the whole time after she finds me, she'll be like, more hiding, more hiding. It's just so
Oh.
cute. Like these little games that we're playing. Yeah, it's my favorite.
Yeah,
What's
that's
going on
also
with
fun.
you?
Well, we have now entered our back flipping off of the bed era, or life, whatever you want to call that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we're just a little wild over here. We like to jump and roll and flip all over the bed, and then, this has happened quite a few times where he just kind of like, how when they're like sitting up or they're in your arms and they just kind of like fling their head one way or whatever. So he
Yeah.
was doing
Mm-hmm.
that, but he's like doing that and falling off the bed.
Oh my gosh.
Yesterday he did it like he flung back over Austin's legs and then did a backflip onto the floor, and then
Oh
was
my gosh.
crying, and I'm holding him and calming him down. And before he even finished, like maybe like 10 seconds of tears, he like gets up and starts to go play again. I'm like, okay, are you
Do
just
it
playing
again.
me
Yeah.
or? So I
Maybe he
don't.
was just like scared, like just got a little freaked out
Yeah.
and then was like,
Hmm.
"Oh, I'm okay."
Yeah. Yeah. So that is our new thing. Yeah, we're just wild. We also have been signing help, and so the sign for help thing is like the thumbs up
Uh,
with your hand down. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you move your hand up. Well, instead of doing that, he just puts his two fists together and goes up. So,
Aw, I love their little, like, the way they change it.
yeah. Yeah.
It's so cute.
Like, okay, you need help. Okay.
Help is
So
such a
yeah.
good one. Like that's been super helpful for us. Except Eleanor sometimes uses it as a crutch. Like she'll be doing something, she'll be like, help, help, help. And I'm like, you can do this, girl. You got this.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he really will mostly use it in like when he actually needs help, like he can't get off of this like Harley bike thing that he has, and he just sits there and like keeps trying to bring both legs off, and I'm like, no, you can do it. And then at one point after like a good 5 minutes he'll sign and be like, help me. But yeah, he's also been doing these like tantrum things where he like cries, like screams and cries, like while I'm putting his pajamas on him, and like emotionally can't like calm down until I like, okay, or I'm like looking at him like, okay, what do you want? Like, what do you need? Do you want to eat? And then he like stops crying immediately, he smiles, he goes, and I'm like, okay, like you're just crying because you don't know how to tell me what you want to do. And so that's been a fun adventure.
Yeah, I feel like the hardest part as a toddler is they have needs and wants now, and then they can't communicate it. And so it gets them like really frustrated.
Yeah, but instead of like trying, he just immediately goes to crying. And I'm like, okay, like, I get that, but I'm like, can we at least try first?
Yeah, like food, like eat, and sign that. Yeah, we've had a few more tantrums lately also. We're definitely moving into that stage. I would say that she's still like easy-ish to calm down and like distract. So I'm hoping that stays that way.
Yeah, we were pretty easy to calm down, and now I feel like it's getting like a longer increments of being upset.
Fun, fun, fun. Back flipping off the bed. I mean, I love all your updates because they're very boy updates, and it's very, very different from ours. Eleanor just like would never do that.
Yeah, no.
Well, welcome everybody to the Mom Era podcast. My name is Megan.
And I'm Alyssa.
And today we're diving into a topic that's really close to our hearts and a reality for a lot of moms out there, and that's being a working mom. So we specifically want to discuss being a working mom during the first few years of our child's life. That's the only part we know so far, since our children are only about a year and a half at this point. And the early years are incredibly rewarding. I mean, these are the formative years of their life, but they also come with their own set of unique challenges, especially when you're trying to balance a career and a baby.
Yes. So many challenges. But from finding the right childcare to managing the emotional roller coaster of returning to work after parental leave, we're here to share our experiences and offer some tips and support for all working moms out there.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like we've kind of discussed this in brief before on the podcast, but there's this huge mindset change from career to family once you have a child. And I imagine this happens for most working moms. I think there's still a lot of working moms out there who may still feel super strongly about their career, but I can talk from my perspective. I feel like once I started or once I had a child, my perspective definitely changed to where like my career was very prominent in my life, and it was something I was like constantly working towards and trying to improve. And it was like it took up a lot of like mental energy both while at work and while outside of work. And then since having a child, I feel like it's changed to where my child is center. It's center like while I'm working, it's center while I'm logged off. I'm not necessarily in an era where I'm trying to advance my career at this moment while my children are young. So it's just this huge mindset change for me that happened.
Yeah, I think that one was hard for me because, and I think this is similar for you and I. We were both very career driven. We both wanted to keep moving up. We both wanted to keep getting to like what was next and blah, blah. And we both had the understanding that we were having kids and we were still going to be working parents. Like it wasn't like, oh, we might be stay at home after this. We both had that understanding. And I think from my perspective, it was very hard to like accept that change, but also like not care at the same time, because I really didn't like, my shift in focus was solely on my child. And it was just a weird thing, like to not have your career first anymore. It was very, very
Yeah.
weird for me, like mentally. But I just remember my first day back to work after like parental leave, and I was just like bawling my eyes out to my mom because I was like, I don't want to leave my baby.
Yeah.
But like after
I know.
you get into it and you get through that like routine, it changes, and it's a hard first week. But yeah, no, my mindset definitely changed, and it's just crazy to think back of how it's changed my career and the way I think now.
Same, same. And I think there probably will be a point in our lives where we probably end up focusing on our career again when our children are older and we can kind of like focus back in on us. But right now, it's just not the main priority, especially when they're like so young. It's just like so hard to focus on anything else as a mom.
Mm-hmm. And I think that also goes into, and maybe this is a topic we cover, but like things outside of work, like it used to be like not a question, like, oh, we're doing like this like event for work after work, happy hour, or
Yeah.
we're going on this trip. It was just like, okay, like I'm going to like what I want to go to, and I want to engage and interact with others. But now it's like, I have a baby at home. Like
Yeah.
bath time is at 6:30, bedtime is at 7. We are not like, I'm not going to happy hour. Sorry. So it's just a very
Yes.
different like thought process that you have too.
Yeah, that's so true. Like, that's a huge part too, because I remember early in my career, somebody had told me that to advance in your career, you never want to skip those things. And so that was always like ingrained in my head. And I've been like, probably since I've turned late 20s, early 30s, I've kind of moved to more of like a homebody than like going out. So I've always had to kind of push myself to like continue to go to things. But then once having kids, I'm just like, no, I'm just like not doing that right now. I remember last year, so I work on a remote team, and last year they were getting the team together, and this is my first year at this job, and I remember I was still breastfeeding. I didn't want to be away from Eleanor like for a whole week, and I felt so bad, like telling them, like, hey, this isn't going to work for me. But then I was like, okay, I'm a working mom. I'm breastfeeding. Like, I can't just say yes to this and like be away from my child. Like, I don't even know how I'd like get her the milk, or I could bring her, but like, what is her and Rob going to do in the hotel room? And she was so little. So it was just like this consideration. I got to a point where I was like, it's okay. It's okay to say no. Like, they were understanding. It's fine. But we're doing they're planning one again this year in like
Mm.
October. And I'm like, man, I should probably go. But Rob and Eleanor will probably just come this time, but it'll be easier. They can, go out and explore and do their own thing
Yeah.
a little bit easier now. But yeah, it's just so difficult. Like, I have a remote job for a reason. Like, I went from a hybrid role that was like requiring us to go back to work to a remote job, like purposefully. And so sometimes when they get us together, it's not that I don't want to go or I don't care. It's just as a working mom and somebody with a family, it's just much more difficult. And I haven't slept away from Eleanor yet. So I'm not going to just like leave for a week. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. No, totally understand. It's a lot. It's a lot. And the way that things have adjusted post COVID is like just mind blowing and like how things used to be, like just like the
Hmm.
expectations that we we would have had if it didn't happen.
Yeah. Right, for sure.
Some considerations as a working mom, we want to kind of go through a list of like things that come up, things to think through, our experiences, childcare solutions. So this is like a fun one. So there's different options for childcare, including daycare, nannies, family support, or even an au pair. I have looked into all. I've had family support on days that I work remote or just be like Fridays at one point. I've had my child in daycare currently. I've explored the opportunity of like a nanny or like a dedicated person that comes to the house. However, it's very hard for me to just like assume that this random person that I don't know is going to be okay and taking care of my baby at my house without me there.
Yeah.
Again, you're dealing with random people at daycare too, but it's just like you're in my space. And then I know a few people that do have an au pair who's kind of like a live-in nanny. They work like 40 hours a week and you can split that up however you want, which I have potentially thought about if we do have a second kid, because it's technically cheaper than paying for daycare full year round for two kids.
Yeah.
But that's also like you have to be okay with someone being in your house and living with you.
Yeah. And you got to give them like time off and stuff, right?
Yeah, like they can only work a max of 40 hours. So, like, assuming the weekends would normally be their time off. But if you need them to work Saturday and not Monday, you can do that easily. So, yeah, so there's lots of different options. My experience is mostly in daycare. Again, it's very hard to drop your kid off and they're screaming, crying for you, or you walk towards a certain room and they scream and cry. We have finally, I would say, after 3.5, 4 months, gotten this daycare thing down. We laugh and get excited when we go to the toddler room now. I think there was just a very big disconnect being in the infant room than being in the toddler room. He really likes the toddler room because mentally he was in the toddler world, but like he wasn't walking, so he wasn't in that room yet. So I think that was hard for him. I mean, it's nice because you can drop them, or at least at my daycare, I know a couple other people have specific timelines or they get charged extra. But my daycare, you can drop them off anytime between 6:30 and pick them up anytime before 6:30 p.m. So that's nice if I have to like go to an appointment before work or something. I have an app. It tells me like updates throughout the day. So I get pictures, I get messages, what they ate, when their nap was, how many times their diaper got changed. So that's helpful, where I feel like that could happen in an in-home daycare or like from a nanny, but it's not going to be as structured. Every time they change their diaper, you're going to get a text message or something like that. So that's what I really like about it.
And you pay per day, right? So like some days he could be there longer and some days he could be there shorter, but you're paying for the day regardless of like how long he's there, even if he goes, right?
Yeah, so like I pay for the schedule of 3 days a week, and so that's the same every week. If I were to change my 3 days, then I just have to give them like 2 weeks notice or whatever.
Yeah.
So, but I know my coworker has, like, if she doesn't get her kid before 4 p.m., they charge an extra late fee or whatever.
Oh.
Even though they're open
so
later.
It's different.
Yeah.
Yeah. 4 is like not late at all. Like most people work until 5.
And a lot of daycares, which is hard, like don't open until like 7:30. Which, like, if you live an hour away from work and you still have to drop your kid off and you have to be there by 8, that's very hard to get there like 7:30, and then so that's I guess everyone has to figure out what works for them.
Right. Yeah, and it's nice that there are options, though I would say it's not nice the way our childcare is kind of set up in the United States. Like it would be nice if we had a little bit more flexibility for less cost, because like I think about my situation with Rob, like from the very beginning, before we even had kids, we discussed Rob staying home. But even when we looked just like at the finances, if we were to have more than one child, like Rob's income was just essentially going towards childcare. And then you're balancing, like, I could just have my kids home and just forego that. Now, on the flip side of it, yeah, he might only make a certain amount now, but in 5 years, that'll probably look different. So we're foregoing that essential career development that he could be, gaining in this time. But it was just really important for us to keep our children home. And we're very lucky that we've been able to do that to this point, and we really hope that we can continue to do it. I mean, it's just the the bond I think Rob and Eleanor have is just, unbreakable. And the same with me and her. I mean, I'm also home during the day, so I get to see her throughout the day. And it's just, I wouldn't trade it for anything else. It truly is the best thing to be able to do that for our kids. And now I know it's not something everybody can do and not everybody wants to do, but it just works out really well for us and our values and our family. Something else to consider as a working mom. And so if you are breastfeeding and pumping when you have to go back to work, it's a lot. And
Yeah,
but there are
it's a lot.
protections. So in the US there are federal protections for pumping at work. So it's primarily outlined in the FLSA, so that's the Fair Labor Standards Act, and then the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act. So employers are required to provide a reasonable break time for an employee to express their breast milk for 1 year after the child's birth. Employers must also provide a place other than a bathroom that's shielded from view and free from intrusion from coworkers and the public for employee to express their breast milk. And employers can't discriminate against you for requesting accommodations related to the need to pump. So these are all really good protections. And always check and make sure your employer just is understanding of what you're doing, because again, they can't discriminate, but keeping them in the know is probably the best thing to do.
Yeah, I think this one was hard for me, just going back to work and trying to make time for pumping, plus the stress. I honestly ended up causing me to stop pumping at 6 months, which I probably could have gone longer if I had a little bit more, I guess, flexibility, or I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
drive. And also at that point, I was kind of done with it too. So I wouldn't say that it was solely the employer, but it was hard to, even if you do block time on your calendar, plan for this time to pump, or in between meetings try to do it. It's hard because sometimes you have to be on video, or sometimes you have to be on mute, because yeah, you got to be pumping. And it's not what you want to
Mm-hmm.
do either. You don't want to work and pump. You want to... So it's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot.
Yeah. I would say my experience pumping at work wasn't bad. I think it helped that we didn't really have to go to the office. Now they were trying to move us to more hybrid, but you and I were like, I don't know about that right now. So it was nice being remote.
Mm-hmm.
I think the problem with that job I had at that point is it was very meeting heavy. There was a lot of meetings, and you could have your camera off and pump, but it was still just a very awkward thing to do. Be
Yeah, you
pumping
just
while you're in a
you don't
meeting.
want to be in a meeting and pumping.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it seems very private. It's something you don't want to, I don't know, be multitasking, I guess, in that way. And I totally would multitask while I did it. I would pump and I would work, but being in a meeting was always weird for me. But I kept pumping pretty regularly. I would say my reason for stopping pumping was just because mentally I was done with it. Now if I wasn't working, that could have looked completely different, because your mental load increases so much more once you're working, that it does add that extra pressure. So maybe if I wasn't working, I would have pumped much longer, but directly, I don't think it necessarily impacted it all that much. But yeah, I mean, I think we were just lucky to be home, because if I had to go physically to the office, and go into like a mother's room 3 times while I was there. Like sometimes I don't even know if I would have been able to make that work.
Yeah. No, I remember the one time too. I like had to go to my car to pump because there wasn't one like fully set up yet. So that was fun.
Mm-hmm.
But I think mentally, like the work stress had added to like also being a working mom stress, and like all that stress had like added to all of it. Like you were saying, if I wasn't working, it might have been different.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was a lot.
So I want to discuss a few tips. So I don't have a ton. Now, I feel so far away from pumping at this point that I'm like trying to remember exactly how we made this easier for ourselves. But a few tips while pumping at work. So, just like I mentioned earlier, definitely discuss the accommodations with your employer. Make sure they're in the know. If they're like pushing back for any reason, make sure you talk to HR. HR should be aware of all these different protections, federal protections that you have to be able to pump. And then the other one is creating routine. So, putting time blocks on your calendar. So you're not in meetings at that time, especially if you are in office. So giving yourself time to pump, put your stuff away, whatever it may be. I think another one that could work too. I mean, you don't want to bring a ton of stuff to the office, but this worked for me at home where I just bought enough pump pieces so that I didn't have to like wash immediately after. And that definitely helps while you're working because it cuts down on that time that you're like away. And technically, if you're hourly, you don't get paid for those pump breaks. So if you are an hourly employee and you want to just like spend the least amount of time doing all this pumping, because it takes time setting everything up and then you got to pump and then you got to clean. So if
Mm-hmm.
that's the case, it's nice having those like extra pump pieces.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I had another tip in my head and then I forgot. Oh, this is what it was. Setting boundaries around pumping, because if you have, again, it's kind of similar to the routine, like, right, like you've blocked off from 1 to 1:30 to pump, and someone asks you to go do something, or you want to go get lunch, or you want to go do this, like, nope, sorry, I have to do this. Or like if someone tries to schedule a meeting over your pumping time, like, nope, I have another meeting. You have
Mm-hmm.
a meeting with your
Yeah.
pump in the mother's room.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that.
Another one for consideration is balancing work and family. So finding a balance that works for you to manage time and energy between work responsibilities and family needs. I know that this one can be tough, especially for working moms, because they tend to take on one, like the household as a mother, and then two, working and just trying to figure out a balance and like managing everything without overwhelming yourselves. So this is a big one.
Yeah, and it's hard. Like it's hard to balance everything. And it isn't even just like work and family, right? It's like work, family, home responsibilities. You're trying to add in friends, you're trying to add in self-care, and there's just so much as a parent that you're just already trying to balance. And then when work is taking up what feels like so much of that time, it's hard. And I think I have good days and I have bad days and balance. Like right now, I just feel like, and I don't know if it's just a summer thing because I didn't feel like this in the winter, but I just feel like right now, and also might be because I'm pregnant and I'm just tired and whatever, but I just feel like our lives are just kind of messy. Like,
Mm-hmm.
like at the end of the night, I just feel like there's so much more to pick up. Like our kitchen needs to be, you know, it's just like we're just kind of messy right now, and but we're also just very busy, and so we're just trying to find those little times to make sure that our family, our home, all of it is like picked up and whatever. So I feel like the balance is so hard. It's so
Mm-hmm.
hard.
Yeah, it is. And I feel like just with our situation with Austin and myself working and having Axel and going through IVF and moving and
Mhm.
having a
Yeah.
hybrid role, so I'm not fully remote, and summer and my sister's wedding, just all these
Yeah.
things. There's just so many things going on that it's like sometimes I have to sit there and I'm like, okay, my to-do list. Okay, what are the top 3 things I need to get done that are going to affect the next couple days? So I try to balance it by like regrouping on my to-do list at night, or regrouping at it on my lunch break at work, or taking it day by day. And I remember, I will literally never forget my mom saying this. Like when I had Axel and I had returned to work, I had someone watching him Monday through Thursday at my house, was working remotely, and then I went to my mom's on Fridays to like have her help watch him while I worked. And it was summer, so my sisters would be there, my mom would be there, my nana would be there, or whoever would be there. And she's like, we're just gonna take it one day at a time. Like I can't, I'm only on today. I need to think about tomorrow, like in a little bit. Like let me get through today. She'd always say that, always. And then she told me like, we'll just go day by day, because I'm like trying to plan out June, July, August on the calendar. And I was like so frustrated that she just wanted to do it like week by week. And then like I got past like the first week to work and I'm like, okay, yeah, we're going to do this week to week. And now I feel like I'm even more like day by day. Like my sister called me to plan 2 weeks in advance. I'm like, I'm not there yet. I am still on today. And it's so true. And I just like totally understand that now, because obviously she has 5 kids. So she's probably on like just this minute right now. But yeah, I don't know how I was like trying to get ahead when in reality you're going day by day, and that's okay. And sometimes that's okay.
Yeah. That's honestly, I feel the same sometimes. Like each day we're just like getting through that day, getting through everything we need to do for that day. And we'll think about tomorrow. Like,
Yep.
Yeah. To me, like what has worked in terms of like balance for me is like having somewhat of a routine, because if I don't, I will like a lot of things will just like fall to the wayside. So, for example, every night, I try to like pick up the kitchen and I try to pick up all the toys from that day. And that's just kind of like once I put Eleanor down, I do that and then I kind of relax. Now, there are some days where I'm just like, I have zero energy to do anything right now, especially now that I'm pregnant. I mean, have very little energy, but that's generally like doing that every single night makes me feel better that our house isn't like insane, by the next day, because having us all 3 of us home all day, like it creates so much more chaos within our house than, if Eleanor were to go to daycare, Rob would go to work, I would go to work, and then we would come back at the house. There's just so much more chaos within our home. So like finding that time at night to just pick up has been really helpful. Something also that Rob and I have been doing is like scheduling. Usually we do it every Wednesday. We did it last night, but we schedule one night where him and I are like doing something together. And it's just like a weeknight. So it's like we're watching a show together, or we'll play a game, or we'll do something. So that's like mine and Rob's time. And I know once a week might not sound like a lot, but like if we didn't schedule that, it would just wouldn't happen. You know what I mean? So we're like trying to make sure we're prioritizing each other within the week. And then I think we're also always just trying to find that balance of like it just finding a little bit of rest time and relaxation time. And so we tend to be very busy on the weekends, but if we can, we'll try to like incorporate a day of relaxation where we're not like running around all day. Now in the summer, I feel like it's sometimes harder to do that, but it's at least something we try to do. So having those like built-in routines, either like what our weeks kind of look like, helps in that balancing, but still chaos.
Yeah, it always is. And I would say Austin and I do something similar. And I am so glad, and I will tell everybody this. I'm like, get your kid to bed early. As much as I like want to have more time with him like after work, but because he has to get up so early, like regardless, even when I was working from home, 7:00, 7:30 is his bedtime. And that is like Austin and I's time after that. Like we're in bed at 8:30. So we only spend like an hour and a half, like, prepping the lunches, cleaning the cat poop, getting the mail. Like we'll sit out on the porch and talk to each other. Well, you know, stab me in the butt for my pio shot, you know, all those things that we do. But having that time, like once he goes to bed, especially in the summer, it's like, oh, we can like enjoy a nice walk to the mailbox. But yeah, so that's a tip.
Yeah.
Get your kid on an early bed schedule so that you like aren't putting your kid to bed at like 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and then you're like so
Yeah.
tired.
Yeah, we're about 8:30, so we're a little later than others though.
Yeah, I don't know how you do that because at 8:30
It
I'm in
just
bed.
yeah, I mean it just works for us because we don't have to get up super early. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So
true,
like
true.
we do have a lot more evening time for the most part. Like last night we started a movie at 9 and we are done by like 11, and then I read my book for a little bit. You know, so I
So
wasn't
you didn't
in
go to
bed
bed till like
until
midnight? What?
like like 11:30ish last night.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's pretty like typical where we're going to bed. I mean, Rob goes to bed like much later, but then I don't have to get up until little after 8, you know?
Yeah, true. But still, like I would want like 8 to 8. I like
8
my
to
12
8.
hours of sleep. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I take mini naps throughout the day, so I'm
You get your
fine.
sleep in.
Yeah, I do. I think if I didn't get like well, yesterday I took a nap and I was just like out for like 2 hours, and I think that's why like when I was going to bed last night, like I was tired but I wasn't like super
Because you
tired, so
would
I just
take,
like read
yeah,
a little
you
bit
took the
longer.
nap.
Yeah. So it kind of throws off my whole schedule too. But yeah, I mean, that's just how we're a little bit different. We spend a little bit more time in the evenings and get to sleep in later, and that's it works for us.
Yeah, but we still both
Mhm.
use that time. So that
Uh-huh.
is the
Yeah.
time when you can
Yep.
regroup as a parent.
Yep, exactly. Another consideration being a working mom is your mental and emotional health. So there's a lot of guilt, there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of pressure being a parent in general. Now, adding work on top of it is a lot. It's just a lot. And so having coping mechanisms to like deal with that is helpful. So being working moms definitely has affected my mental health and in the ways that I kind of manage. I would say over the year and a half from having Eleanor, my mental health has been like up and down, up and down, up and down. Like when I first had her, it was like down, like it was a crazy time learning everything. But then, it would go up. And then I had to go back to work and it was like down. And then it was like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, so there's just been a lot going on, and just being aware of how I'm feeling has been a change for me. I have never been very good at that because my whole life I've been like a people pleaser. So I'm constantly thinking of other people and their emotions and
Mm.
like monitoring that and kind of altering myself. But since having a kid, I don't even want to do that anymore. Not that I like wanted to do that before, but I didn't even recognize it until I had a kid. Like so much about your mental health gets like slapped in your face once you have a kid. You're like, wow, I don't know if I know how to emotionally regulate. Like
Yeah, yeah,
I don't
definitely.
know if I've been doing all these things. So it's just like being stopping and like recognizing how I've been feeling has been really important, and then figuring out like where that feeling was coming from and trying to mitigate as best as possible by using coping mechanisms or regulating myself or whatever it may be. Not only am I like teaching Eleanor, but it's like a learning curve for myself also. So it's been interesting how my mental health has become like forefront after having a kid.
Yeah, yeah, no, I agree. And I feel like a lot of it is on both parents, but also like on the mom. And that was
Hmm.
like a lot for me emotionally. I'm learning, but also like experiencing different emotions too. And I had to let go of a lot of things where like I'm not in control of things. And so I think
Yeah.
that was hard for me. Like you're not in control. and you have to learn how to let go and like still operate without trying to control
Yeah.
everything. Where I was not like a people pleaser, so like I don't care if anyone gets upset, whatever. But also I should be empathetic towards others as well. So that was a very much a learning curve, still learning. But yeah, there's a lot that happens.
Yeah. Yeah, getting rid of like or not feeling and not being in control after having a child. Like there is so much out of your control. And that is a huge change. Like I
Mm-hmm.
was so used to like, oh, I'm feeling bad. I'm going to get myself out of this. Whereas like it's just much harder to do with a child.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel guilt because I'm not with her, right? Like I'm working all day, but I can't just like stop working,
Mm-hmm.
like that's not
Yeah, because
something
then I
that's
can't
viable.
provide for them. So yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah. But I'll always say this. I mean, having my therapist is probably one of the best things that I could have done for myself. And I started seeing her while I was pregnant with Eleanor because I already started to feel, I mean, there's so much going on within you when you're pregnant all the way through having a kid. So it's been really nice to like have her throughout this whole process. And I still see her. I see her once a month and it's really nice. And then Rob and I see a couples therapist also because your relationship changes and we've always wanted to be in the best spot for our kids in our relationship. And it's been really hard to put effort into our relationship while also being so busy. So that really helps with
Mm-hmm.
that aspect of things. And yeah, so I'm a huge advocate for all kinds of therapy, even if you don't even feel like your relationship is bad, like going into having kids, it changes so much. Like, I think Rob and I have a pretty good relationship, but like having a therapist that we actually talk to her biweekly, it's been so good for us. So I'm all about therapy. Even if
Yeah.
you don't think you need it, I think it's good.
Listen to Megan. I have a therapist too, and I love it. It just helps me walk through things that I'm facing. I feel like literally every other week when I talk to them, I'm like super up and then super down and then super up and then super
Yeah.
down. So it's very helpful because by the time I'm like getting to talk to them, like I need to talk to you right now. Like I need to know.
Yeah.
I need to share this with you.
Yes.
And then we also just wanted to walk through some realities of being a working mom. So I'll go through the first few and then Megan will cover the last. But you realize you in fact cannot do it all or have it all, which is very accurate. I think that reflected in some of the comments we made above. There will be challenges in career advancement, which we also have shared above. And then you also crave me time. It's, I think this one we kind of touched on, but not as much. It's like when I put the baby down and like I want to go sit in my room in silence because I'm
Yeah.
overstimulated from work and from the baby. Like that is so like nice. Like I just want quiet me time just for like 10 minutes and then I can finish whatever else I need to do.
The me time's always so funny because I crave me time, and then when she goes to bed, I'm like, "Ugh, I
Yeah.
just miss
Like I
her."
want to get you back out of the bed. Or we
I
sit there
know.
and watch pictures and videos of you.
Yes, yes, it's so funny. Some other realities is really there is never any time off. It's a full time job, working, taking care of your child. Maybe you could build in some time off with your partner. Rob and I do that
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, so try to build that in. The bar is really low for dads. Like, this was a huge reality check for me. Rob is so involved, and I don't want to say it's like so low for Rob, but like the outside world sees it so low for Rob. So the fact that like he changes diapers, people are like, wow, you changed a diaper? And it's like,
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he's the dad.
Yeah, I have such
you
high
know?
expectations for Austin that like I've had people do the same. Like what? Like he's
Hmm.
like helping you? Like what? And I'm like,
Yeah, he's
yeah,
50-50 in this.
he helped me make this thing.
Yes. Yeah, but I think that's a part of like generation wise because I feel like our generation's kind of turning a lot of our generation, I say, is kind of turning that norm into like mother does all, into it being more split. And other generations are kind of like, what? The dad's doing that?
Yeah.
So it's just really funny. And flexibility in a job is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, selling point of an employer. This was like a huge reality for me because once my old employer was starting to take that flexibility away as a working parent, I was like, this is not what I want. This is not what I want at all. So definitely became like a huge thing for me to try to find something else.
And saying that you can find flexibility in a remote job, but also in a hybrid role. And
Yeah.
as much as it doesn't sound like you have flexibility in a hybrid role, it really depends on the company and the manager, if they're flexible when you work from home or, switching your work from home days, that can happen. But that is one of the biggest things that I would look for, or you would look for in an employer at this point. Even
Yeah.
talking to my
Yeah,
coworkers, they're
absolutely.
like, yeah, like I would rather have this much flexibility than any extra money any day. It's like, okay.
Yeah, exactly. For sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that is the completion of our working moms topic. We hope some of the considerations were helpful. Our experiences were helpful. Obviously, we're not experts, but we've done it once. So we know what we're talking about. Everyone's going to have a different experience, but we hope our experiences can help you navigate through your own. Yeah. So we hope this was helpful.
Yeah, this is a topic close to my heart because if I could, I would not work.
We would all just be stay-at-home moms and just have passive income.
I want passive income so bad. Maybe someday. What mom era are you in?
Well, I am in we transferred an embryo mom era. So I think I covered it last week, but we had 6 eggs that came out, 5 fertilized, only 1 fertilized normally. And so we were hanging on to hope that that embryo was going to make it until transfer day. And when I tell you, I was freaking out. I literally was in the car and I'm like, Austin, okay, so like if this one didn't make it, like what are we going to do? Like let's get a line. So if the doctor asks us, because I had called and they told me that you won't find out until 45 minutes before the transfer, and that's when you have to be there. So so I'm like, okay, so we're not going to know until we get there. And so he's like, just shut up, it'll be fine, it'll be perfect. Like the embryo is going to be there. I'm like, okay. So we go upstairs, we get in the room, get in our little gowns, and I'm like, okay, like can I talk to the doctor? Do we know like what our embryo is? They're like, you're transferring 1 embryo. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't even know if it made it. And so then they're like, okay, the doctor will talk to you in the room. And I'm like,
oh
okay.
No, so I would have been like, no, that's bad news.
Well, see, I was thinking it was good news because why would he take me into the room?
True.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But also I was like, can you just come talk to me? I don't understand. So then I go back in the room and they're like, okay, you're transferring 1 embryo. And I'm like, okay, can someone tell me if this is the normal fertilized embryo that we had, or what embryo are you transferring into me? And they're like, yes, this is the 2PN, the normal embryo. Do you want to know the grade? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, it was a 5AA. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, that's the same as Axel. So then they walked out and there's like this brief moment before the doctor comes in and I like start crying because I'm like, oh my gosh, like it worked, it happened. Like we have this embryo, everything's working out perfectly. And then the doctor came in and you can like see him insert it all, take it out. And yeah, it was just a really good moment. So fingers crossed this works. So yeah.
It's so crazy to me that you had 1 embryo and everything just was like perfect.
Yeah.
Like so awesome. So yeah, so you're in your 2-week wait?
Yep, I'm starting my 2-week wait now until
Fun.
because they tell you not to test because I did do a trigger shot with HCG. So if you tested, it can come back positive because of the HCG that was in your blood from the trigger shot, but it could also come back positive if your transfer works. So we'll see if I end up testing out my trigger or not, but they won't, like, I think I had asked this with my last transfer, they won't let you come in earlier to do anything for blood work. Like you literally have to wait until that day for them to like confirm.
Yeah.
And it's usually 9 days post transfer, but that usually falls on a weekend, so it's like the following Monday. So you're
Oh,
like,
of course.
yeah.
Well,
So yeah. So we will
fingers
wait.
crossed. Yes.
Yes. So
Exciting, exciting.
what mom era
To
are
see
you
what's
in?
next. Oh no. I'm in. Okay, so I got my
Oh, we're
NIPT
doing this.
test.
Okay, sorry. I saw messy down here and I was like, wait,
I
what?
changed it. Because I was like, oh, wait, I just found this out. I don't know how I could forget. Anyways, I got my NIPT test done at 10 weeks, and I got my results back early this week, right?
Yeah,
Tuesday
earlier
maybe?
this week.
Yeah. So it was like a little longer than a week that I got the results back. But I'm having a boy.
Woo!
I can't believe it.
I'm so
Rob and
excited.
I were like in shock. We were like, I don't know, we both like felt like we were going to have a girl. Not felt, but we were both, and not even to say like I wanted to have a girl, but like it just felt like it was going to be easier. And so,
Because
like
you
in my
just
head, I'm
know.
like,
Yeah.
in my head, I'm like, oh, it's going to be two girls, two girls, two girls. And Rob kept like accidentally saying he or whatever as he was referring to the baby. So, like, I think Rob unconsciously felt like it was going to be a boy. But yeah, finding out, we were both like, oh.
When you told me, I was
We're
like,
gonna
oh
have
my God. She is
I
in for it,
know.
that's for sure.
I know it's gonna be a change. It's gonna be a
But they're so
change. We're
much
excited.
fun. And it's
Yeah.
like the, you know how like Eleanor has like that, like I want my mom, like I love my mom, but it's
Mm-hmm.
like I don't even know how to explain it. Like it's such a different feeling, like having like a
Mm-hmm.
baby boy like want their mom. So like dads are cool and all, but mama's the best. So
Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm also I'm nervous for like the rambunctiousness of a boy and a second child, because I feel like there's a lot of that around second children. Like second children are just kind of a different breed. So like there's that on top of him being a boy. But we're
mm-hmm.
really excited. It's kind of nice to have one of each, though we wouldn't have cared either way. But it's exciting to know.
Yeah, and I feel that way too, just because we have a boy. Like Austin's already like, it's a boy, the embryo that we just transferred. I'm like, first of
Mhm.
all, we don't even know what the embryo is,
Yeah.
and we have no idea that it's a boy or not. So calm down. But yeah, that's how
Hmm.
he's already acting, just because that's just what you know. So you just assume that it's
Yeah.
what it's going to be. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. It like
Yeah, but
feels.
I'm excited.
I don't want to. I don't want to say like comfortable, but like kind of like obviously this is a me thing, but like the unknown has always made me a little anxious and uncomfortable. And so
Mm-hmm.
I would say this, I'm so excited, but like there's that little part of me that's like, oh, this is different.
Mm-hmm. Well, I will tell everyone I love being a boy mom.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but you have the best of both worlds. So you get to be the boy mom, and you're gonna
Hmm.
get to be the girl mom, and like being
Yeah.
both and everything.
Yeah, I know. I know it is
So
the best. Okay. Well, fingers crossed for you. You'll have to let us know how yours progresses. And
yes, I
I'm like
will.
coming out of first trimester within like a week or so. So
How many
I'm
weeks are
excited to
you?
get energy. I'm coming on to 12 weeks right now. So I'm 11 weeks and 4 days.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
I think like whenever I get my positive pregnancy test, I think I'm at like 4 weeks or whatever. So I'd probably be like
Mm,
7 or 8 weeks behind you.
behind, yeah.
No,
And what
eight
yeah,
or nine. I don't know. Whatever. We'll see.
we'll
If I get
figure
a
it out.
positive
Yeah.
pregnancy test, I'm behind you, but
Hmm.
not that far.
Yes. Yeah. Yay.
Thank everyone for joining us on the Mom Air podcast. We're laughing too much, but we've been talking for a minute here. We hope that this resonated with everyone that is a working mom or people that are stay-at-home moms or stay-at-home parents, because you're still working, you're still navigating everyday life. And if you have any experiences to share, want to be on our podcast, or have any questions for us, reach out to us at momera_podcast on Instagram or TikTok, and or momerapodcast@gmail.com. We will see you next time.
Bye-bye.